If it's not cute stuff, I think it's cute, so. Hello, hi, I'm INANA. I've been away for a really long time and I'm really sorry about that. Life was lifing, but we're back. And today is the third episode of Books and a Beat. This is a series where I review books that I've read, usually African literature, in a makeup look inspired by the cover of the book and usually an outfit as well. Unfortunately, today I only have like a green blouse on, in line with the cover of the book that I'm about to talk about, but it's fine. Usually what I do is I introduce the book, I talk about the characters, and then talk about themes. Then I just kind of wrap it up really quickly. Today we're talking about Yaa Gyasi's Transcendent Kingdom, and it follows the musings of a final year PhD student called Gifty. She's studying neural circuits of reward-seeking behavior, and so we delve into her life and everything that influenced her to reach this point in her life where this is what she's studying and this is what she's invested in. If you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes because there are lots of them. So it touches on the dynamics of immigrant families, like the different people in them, the different ways that they communicate and interact with the new environment, as it were. For some people it's new and for some people it's not, and we see that like in the course of the story. It also looks at the different ways that mental illness, addiction, faith kind of can interplay with these different factors. My eye look is inspired by the cover of the book, the one that I have in the thumbnail. There is another cover which is green and it has like stripes and flowers, so that's why I'm wearing a green shirt. There is some gold lettering, I think, on the one in the thumbnail, or it's like brown, it looks gold. So that's why I have this golden necklace on. My earrings are kind of brown. This makeup look, like this eye look, is inspired by a Gizmo makeup artist. She's on Instagram. I love her work, and it's not quite accurate. I was thinking to myself that I'm screwing it up, but it ended up being cute, right? We're going to talk about characters now. The first character that I believe is worth mentioning is Gifty. Gifty is our protagonist. She's very introspective. You see it from the time in the story where she's describing her childhood up until even now in her PhD program. She's a younger sister and an only daughter, which is important to remember for later. She describes herself as a child who always liked to be right, and being that kind of curious from early on, it's easy to lose that, but luckily she doesn't, and it like carries on with her. She admits to dealing with shame around her family, for reasons beyond her control, but reasons for which she is being shamed. We see her journey through the book with her shame, like the construction of the shame, the deconstruction of her shame, and how that kind of plugs in with everything else that's going on. The next person that bears mentioning is her brother Nana. You remember that I said that she's a younger sister? This is the older brother to her younger sister. Nana is arguably the most vivacious character in her life. In the plot of the book, we learn about Nana's battle with addiction and how that personal battle affects his entire family unit along the course of his life. The events of his life shaped her mother, and like their whole family unit in irreversible ways that we learn about during the entire plot of the book. The next character that bears mentioning is her mother. Through the book, we only know her as Ma. We never learn her given name, unless we did and I skipped over it. But yeah, we don't read her being referred to as anything other than Ma, except when we are being made privy to her diary entries where she calls her the Black Mamba because it's a code name that's fitting. So Ma is the parent that stayed, and we'll get into that later. She wanted to live the American dream with her family, and she made that happen. But along the way, important bits of it started to crack, crumble, and fall out, and that kind of irreversibly changed the shape of the dream that she had for her family. We see how dedicated she is to her children, and how circumstances beyond her control devastates her children, and how their devastation in turn breaks her down. And the last character that I want to talk about is the consequences that make them important to the plot. I don't think they, as a character, are very important to the plot, to be very honest with you. But the character that I'm talking about is their father. They know him as the Chin Chin Man for reasons you will understand if/when you read. For reasons you will understand if you have read or when you read the book. Yeah, I feel like he's a minor character, but his departure is what starts the unraveling that I mentioned of Ma's like American dream. We don't know him as Da because Gifty doesn't refer to him as Da or Dada or Daddy or whatever variation. There were 3 themes that jumped out to me through the course of the book, and like any good literature student, my themes are broken down into themes. You're going to walk with me through all of them. The first theme that was really prominent to me was being the peace. Our protagonist makes it clear very early on in the plot that she understands that there are tumultual times in her home, and so she resolves to be the one person that everybody can look to for peace, or the one person that everybody can depend on to not be doing something troublesome that would just add on to everything else that's happening. This comes on the tail of growing pains, her own journey with her faith, and what she had been taught she was supposed to aspire to in the realm of her faith. And so that's where this need to be the peace comes from, and her need to be the fixer, the one who makes everything okay. That becomes difficult when she starts to question everything that she's been taught because of the consequences of her brother's difficulties with addiction. So the next theme that was really clear to me was the humanizing of someone who's considered other, right? So I think that the plot did a good job of humanizing people who struggle with mental health disorders, addiction, and just showing the length and breadth of their emotions, motivations, struggles, their fears, and how all of these and their manifestations affected people around. And in Nana's case, he received all the help that his mother could offer, maybe what she couldn't afford to offer but offered anyway, but his struggles were beyond the scope of the assistance that she could offer, and that the assistance that was available at the time, because this is like a few decades ago. They were shocking people for this. Their mother did what she could, but ultimately it didn't work. I'm gonna leave it at that. For those who have read, you know what happened, and if you haven't, I think you should read so you understand, and then you can come back and watch and be like, Easter eggs. It also humanizes the parent that stayed. I feel like Gifty's mom's dream of making a life in America was very clearly only his. She did her very best to include her husband, but he was also very adamant that this was not a place that he wanted to be if he had the choice. So he left, and Gifty's mom was the one who had to stay and make sure that what she was building kept on being built. The responsibilities that were being shared between both of them now just fell on her mother. And that, I guess at the beginning of their lives, it was alright because she had a job. She got a job first and it was fine. But by the time that happened, they had young children, almost adolescents, on their hands. The expenditure, which already is high because children are expensive, climbed because not only are they children, they're adolescents and they will inhale everything in their path and outgrow everything in their closets. And I would know because I'm just coming from there. So we see Gifty's mom struggling through Gifty's eyes, like her eyes as a child, and then later through her reminiscing as an adult. The third theme that was really clear to me was living in community. So I'm going to talk about Maa's community and I'm going to talk about Gifty's community because I feel like those are intertwined. So Maa's community, her primary community is her family back in Ghana, right? I consider her ex-husband to be a part of that primary community. He was a part of the primary community that she brought along with her. The secondary community was the church that she joined when she moved, and the Ghana community in the States. I feel like a part of the reason why her husband left eventually was because he didn't feel like the community that they had, like that secondary community, was comparable in any way, shape, or form to his primary community in Ghana. And he, in the course of the story, we see a few points where he makes it known. The second, community tree, I guess, that I'm gonna talk about is Gifty's. Now, Gifty's primary community is her nuclear family, so her mother, her brother, and her father, by way of the consequences of his departure. I also think the church, to some extent, forms a part of that primary community because it was a part of the first version of the world that she knew. It seems to whittle down to just her and her mother and the consequences of the actions of other people in this primary community. And I'm hesitant to really cement the church as one of the facets of her primary community because at some point the church becomes a site of non-physical violence. The people within the church making her feel unsafe translated into her feeling unsafe with the church, period. And her having to tap into her mother's primary community for support, it seemed like a bit of a bittersweet experience because had it not been for the move, that likely would have been her primary community too. I think her secondary community would be the people that she met in academia and the different ways that they all tried to connect with her. We see how the lessons from her primary community influence her interactions with her secondary community and how initially she's very guarded with how she interacts, but over the course of time she starts to open up sometimes. This is usually the part of the video where I talk about things that I liked in the plot, but all I have here honestly is a third community for Gifty, and that's her research marks. Hear me out. So her primary community posed questions, right? Lots of questions that she couldn't quite answer for herself. Her secondary community provided support as she tried to figure out how to answer those questions. Her third community, the mice, they're the vehicle of her answering these questions. They're the ones being sliced and diced, prodded, poked, influenced to make certain decisions that are gonna help her figure out whether the answer to her question is what it is. I also understand if you think I'm doing too much, and I will concede. Just know that I'm conceding because you think so, not because I agree that you think I'm doing too much. Ultimately, I think this was a really good read. It covered a wide range of introspections, and as somebody who's in my head a lot, I think it was really cool to read an albeit fictional person's ruminations. Yeah, I haven't really read anything like this, and I really did enjoy it. I hope I didn't give too much away. If I did give a lot away, I hope I left enough plot holes for you to want to actually read the book and fill them in. For those who have already read it, please let me know what you agreed with and disagreed with. I enjoy speaking to all of you about these books that we read, and so yeah, hit me up. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like and comment and share with people who you think will like it. If you haven't already subscribed, you are welcome to do so, but no pressure. Once again, thank you so very much for joining me today. I'll see you in the next one.